Yeah, so thank you both for the introduction. My name is Dave Ingram. I work for Oracle. I've been in the content management space for a long time, and I've seen a number of transitions. And what I'm going to show you today is the latest version of Content and Experience. And there's a number of things that the product does. So I'm going to try to give a pretty full overview, but do feel free to ask any questions in the chat as we go here, and we can dive a little bit deeper into specific areas. We should have a little bit of time left over when I get finished with the overview. So the core of this product is about managing content and assets. So if I jump over just straight into the interface and take a look at this assets panel, we have a lot of things that we're able to do here around managing content for a variety of purposes. And once you sort of understand this, I'm going to talk about how we manage it, and then I'm going to talk about what types of experiences you can build from this. But just to give you a good, solid understanding of what this does and what we're talking about here. So, one type of asset is images, and so you see a bunch of imagery here. Obviously, that's critical to today's experiences. As is video, as are in a lot of, especially B2B cases, documents. And on top of that, it's important that we're able to structure our content such that we can build websites, mobile applications, or anything else in very dynamic, personalized fashion. So when I use the term structured content, what I'm talking about is things like this. And to show sort of the simplest version of this one is a blog post. And if I click into what we have here, you'll see that I'm able to edit this existing piece of content, and we have some very straightforward things like name, description, title, body. And as we go here, there's more fields that I can fill out. This one's pretty simple, but I can reference an image out of my asset repository. So we can come in here, you see all those images that I saw earlier. I can filter and search down there. And we can also link other pieces of content. So author is a reference to, in this case, other content items that are authors. And I can do things like choose a layout. And all of this is very customizable. So as I'm building experiences in really whatever that means for my business, I can structure these, what we call content types, to be able to hold the types of content that I need it to hold. And of course, managing content is not just about having a form and a place where you can upload it, but it's about the workflow around the content. So when I click here, I'm able to see things like publishing, and I'm able to see approvals. You can see we have a draft, in review, rejected, approved, published statuses for all of this content. I'm able to translate the content. So here for this particular one, you see I have an English version and I have a German version of the same piece of content. We can configure rules around what types of content need to be translated to which languages so that we can make sure that we're meeting all of the compliances and things that we need to do for different experiences that we're building. Of course, I can also organize and manage this content in various ways. So I can manage it based on the channel that it's destined for. I can manage it based on, of course, the language that it's been translated to, the collections that it's in, and the types of content and the approval statuses. Now, I can also, we talked about translation. I won't walk through that whole workflow right now, but there's a number of different ways that we can either do an individual translation or a bulk translation of our content. But I can also, you see here, targeted channels. I can, on this individual piece of content, select which channels do I want this piece of content to be published to. There's permissions around these, so different people will have the ability to publish to different channels. But I can start to manage some of the types of experiences that April was talking about, where I might have a chatbot experience and a website experience. I might have an augmented reality application, my .com site, and a mobile app. And I can be using that same piece of content with different formatting and different display and dynamic rules around it, but I can be using that across all of these different channels. And I think this is one of the largest trends that we've seen over the last, maybe 3 years, where there's so many different experiences that the software vendors and, most importantly, our customers are seeing the challenges of managing all of these different experiences and are trying to get away from managing each one in silos. And having this asset repository is really what allows us to build experiences that span all of those different channels. Now, the asset repository, like I said, is sort of the core of what types of experiences we can build. But there's more that we can do in getting to an asset that is ready to be published. And then there's a lot that we can do once these assets are ready and approved. So I want to take a look at the workflow and approval process leading up to having this asset. And one of the things that we've done, visual assets being such an important thing, is we've integrated with Adobe's Creative Cloud products. So here I am in Photoshop, but this works in a number of the other Adobe tools. And you see I have a panel here where I can actually pull up all of these different assets from my asset repository. You see Tire Retailer, that's where we've been working. And I can just grab these and I can drag them into this canvas. And this is just straight up Photoshop, so I won't spend a lot of time here, but maybe I want to add some kind of a gradient on top of this so that I can add some text in one of my experiences. So I want that to sort of, fade to black at the top, so I have a little bit of room to work there. Whatever the case may be, I'm not the designer here, and we won't spend any time there. But maybe I like it down here better. We sort of darken that road, and there we go. And then I can throw some text in there, however I want that, and then I can save that back into my asset repository. We could do that in a couple of ways. I can actually just drag it directly into there. But if I want more control and I maybe want to collaborate on this a little bit more, then one of the things that I can do is actually drop right into car, black, street. I can drop this right into a spot on my desktop, save this Photoshop document here. And when I jump back into content and experience, you'll notice this documents tab. Now, this can be used for a number of different use cases, but you see here the same folders that I saw when I was exporting there, and that's because we actually have this desktop sync client for our tool that allows me to, across all of my different content and experience instances, I can sync folders on my desktop, not unlike a Google Drive or a Dropbox or a Box or any of those file sync tools. I can pull that right into my content and experience tool, and then I can manage these folders and files. And when I click into here, you see a number of them that I've already been working with. And sure enough, we already see this car black street PSD file that I opened up here. And I can now easily share this. So as soon as it got uploaded, I can share this directly here. And there's a number of different ways that I can do it, but the simplest one is to just grab a link that might have a view or a download permission to it, or even a contributor permission if I want somebody to be able to upload a new version. And I can just copy that link. So I copy that here, and now I can share this link with any of you or anybody in my company, or depending on how I've set up those permissions. But this one is actually a public link. So I could go in and share this directly with an agency or with a client that I'm working with, or whatever the case may be. And I can even come in here and comment on this. So if I open up my conversations tab, I can just come in here and I can actually annotate this image here. And, maybe I want to say, can we do this with a consumer vehicle? And maybe give my feedback there, and we can have this collaboration even on the source file. So on the PSD, I can work with it here, and once we sort of work that out, like maybe this is a little bit more what I was looking for, so we can drop that in there. Not exactly a commercial car, but hey, maybe that's more what I'm looking for. So we can come and we can save that out, and now I have something that's maybe a little bit more relatable to me. And when I save it, and give it just a second to sync here, but generally comes in pretty quick. There we go. We've actually got version 2, and all I did was just saved out that file, and I can actually go back and see the history and manage all of that here. And once we're happy with this, I can ask my designer, in this case, if we want to do some special exporting, then we could go ahead and export it to a JPEG and do all of the work there. And once I have a JPEG, I'll skip that step for now, but once I have a JPEG, I can come in here and do a variety of different things, but I can actually just push this directly into that asset repository where I can start using it inside of experiences. If we took a look at this one, for example, here's one that I've already got exported as a PNG file. And so that would be something that I could just come in here and say, add to my asset repository. And now this is ready to be used in any type of experience that I want to work in. So that gives me a pretty wide variety of functionality in working with both the raw source files, collaborating with my team on getting to the finished product, and then getting it all organized in collections and ready to be published to different channels in this asset repository. And then the final piece of the equation that I want to talk about here is what types of experiences can be built with this. Now, in a traditional content management system, the primary focus is going to be about building websites. And as much as we might want to talk about a future with no websites, it's of course still a very important piece of all of our businesses. And it's an important piece of content and experience as well. So I do have the ability to build and manage sites directly inside of the tool. But this isn't the only way that I can use these assets. And I'll kind of step through a little bit of this in just a moment, but I want to sort of talk about some of the other things maybe first, because we really think that's so important. And to do that quickly, since we don't have a lot of time left, I'm just going to show a couple of quick little video clips of some of the types of experiences we're building with content and experience. One of those is this application that we've built here, where a tire retailer can take a mobile device, point it at a magazine, and interact with 3D content in an augmented reality application. Now, everything that you're seeing here, the 3D model, the thumbnails at the bottom, the different text that's showing up as we tab through the different pieces, and even the purchase-related information, that's all stored in content and experience as what we call a content item. That's the piece that was driving the blog post, and how I said that can be used for all types of experiences. That's one example of the type of experience that can be built there. And then we can use the publishing channels and also the APIs to then build out these types of applications. We can do similar things with chatbot integrations. So here you might see, for example, this is pulling in content from content and experience from Slack. So that's a chatbot integration that you can see there. We have other ones, so Facebook style chatbots that you might look at here as well. Similar things where we can interact with these structured content items and be able to build out a variety of different experiences using the APIs. Now, another type of experience is, of course, all of your marketing automation tools. So one thing that I can talk to you about is how we use content and experience inside of other Oracle Cloud tools. So here we're looking at responses for email marketing. We have another email marketing tool, which is Eloqua, more for B2B. We have the same integration there, but when I'm in this email editor, we can come in here and we can actually click on this image, and you see I have a content and experience integration directly here, and I can pull up that same asset repository from this interface. So let's say I want to swap out that image for a San Francisco image. I just click here, and then that's going to swap this out in my email. So I can work with those approved assets across a variety of different tools and be able to build out my marketing campaigns there. We're doing similar things across a number of different Oracle Cloud products. That's a major piece of our roadmap. But today we're basically doing that in Commerce Cloud, in Responses, and Eloqua, and also working towards things like our Service Cloud product to be able to reuse content items there, various other products across the customer experience cloud. So I talked about a lot of different experiences that aren't web. Let's spend a little bit more time digging into the web. So here are all the different websites that I'm managing inside of this content experience instance. And if I click into one of those and open it up, I get to this experience here where I'm able to build out an actual full-blown website. So here I have my navigation that I'm working on, so I can go between different tabs, different pages, and I can manage the navigation structure. And then within pages, I have this WYSIWYG editor where I can, edit text, edit titles, swap out images, and build really quite dynamic experience as well with a drag and drop interface by coming in here. And you see I can build out different layouts. So if I wanted some kind of a slider in here, we can do that here. And start adding slides here. We can access directly those structured content items, and we can filter that here to all collections so I can see a little bit more. And we can bring in individual assets here, and then we can also use what we call components, where we have a wide variety of pieces of functionality basically that we can build in, whether that's a list of content, social widgets, document management, processes through Process Cloud, just another one of our cloud products. There's a wide variety of things that we're able to do here using those components. And it's actually very extensible, so we can do a lot more by having a developer come in and build out custom components that allow, kind of the sky is the limit functionality by writing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to create these functional components that you can use to build out these sites. Now, the last thing I want to talk about on websites, and we could spend easily a full hour diving into all of the capabilities and functionality in this site builder, but I want to come back over to this asset repository and talk about a very big trend in web development over the past couple of years, which is building what are variously called headless or decoupled experiences or single page applications. Just to throw out a couple of frameworks, these are often built with something like React or Angular or Vue, are kind of the three big ones, maybe Ember. There's various other ones that you could use as well. But these take the approach of basically allowing the developer to write in very specialized JavaScript frameworks and create very dynamic experiences, and then assemble experiences on the fly with dynamic content. And when we were talking about our APIs, we've spent a lot of kind of time and thought on how to build this asset repository such that it works well for those experiences. And I'm not going to dive too deeply into that unless somebody asks me to in the Q&A, because that starts to get us into code, and not everybody enjoys going to that level. But if you do, please ask questions, and I'm happy to talk more about what we're doing there to make that easier to do. But from a roadmap standpoint and a vision and strategy standpoint for the product, we very much recognize that our site builder will not be for everybody. And in some situations, you'll be using something like a React, and we fit very well into that world as well from a site building perspective. We also, just to kind of top off that combined website thought, we're one of the few vendors on the market that allow the ability to do both. So we consider this piece of it a content as a service or content as a service API to be able to build those experiences, but we also have this built-in site builder. So one interesting way to think about this is if you're managing many sites, you might want to build some of your smaller marketing campaign sites, microsites or internal sites in this sort of business user friendly visual way. and you might leave some of your more consumer-facing experiences where you really want to optimize every aspect of that, give your developers full control. Then you might come over here and say, well, we're going to manage all of our assets here, but we're going to build that experience in a React or a Vue or an Angular. So, really flexible in how you think about building out all of the experiences that are important to your business. That's really the summary of what we can do with this product. So it's about managing these assets. It's about the workflow leading up to having this curated asset repository for building your experiences. And then it's about the experiences that you can build, whether it's headless website or a custom application or applications across the Oracle Cloud. We really believe that this can be the central repository for the content and assets that are required for those experiences that you want to build.